Hey guys and girls, Bored Now back with you. On this video I'm going to be talking about episode 1 of Extraordinary, and it is called Haves Not. Full spoilers from the start of this review, not too much to spoil really. World full of people with extraordinary powers, but you have this one girl, Jen, who doesn't have powers, and we see the effects of that on her life. We see certain things like she goes to a job interview and the woman already she has the power to know what she's going to say ahead of time. Jen is going to come out with a bunch of stuff which is just her just saying that so she can try and get the job, so she anticipates that and the truth comes out. And there's different things like she's in a boring relationship where she's unsatisfied, so at one point she seeks that out. She seeks someone with the superpower of having super orgasms, and there's just various things where she's seen as being boring compared to her sister, who can lift ridiculous things like sofas and just has that power. And at one point she goes to her sister's party and that becomes a party trick. And you see a little bit of the other side where she has these two flatmates, and one of the flatmates, Carrie, is taken for granted because of her powers. She's almost seen as she's a plaything for the super rich, but she's not actually treated as a person in her own right. So that's the other side of it. And this was terrible. This was really lame. This went for all the obvious jokes. The weird thing about it is the premise is a decent premise, and there's stuff you can do with that premise. And the big problem is that in this first episode doesn't do any of that stuff. It just goes for really cheap sight gags or really juvenile sort of humour, which has been done a million times before. And it's just so obvious and just makes you roll your eyes, where you don't really get into any of the characters because of it. But the other problem is then, although it's a decent enough premise where you can really run with it and do something, that the danger is also then a lot of the Marvel movies have already done this, because this is more on the comedic side, and that's clear from the start. Now there might be the occasional more humour moments, or that there might be some drama in it as we go along. There's certainly not much in this opening episode. There's probably one quite sweet tender moment which is towards the end of the episode, and it's a moment where Jen has been talking to this voice on the other end of the phone throughout, and she's talking to him about just advice and about how she navigates through the world, and how she sort of longs to have a superpower of her own so she can fit in. And you're not quite sure who this voice is, and it's revealed later on it's her father, who's no longer around. And we see at one point her friend Carrie channels the father so she can actually speak to him through Carrie. And they she comes home and Carrie's there, and you see her using the father's voice, and they have an intimate moment, and it's actually quite nice. That's probably the one moment I liked in the episode, really. Apart from that, it's pretty much just all cringe and eye-rolly. But the trouble with what I was saying about the Marvel stuff is then the Marvel films now are guilty of being quirky and being quippy all the time, and just doing it for the sake of it rather than because it justifies it in the plot. And this feels like this from the very start. It just hits you in the face with all this jumping around, all this over-the-top musical cues where they just slap you in the face with it. I mean, one really eye-rolly use of music is like when she's having sex with the guy, or not exactly sex, but he's meant to be giving her an orgasm, and they just use a version of "I Put a Spell on You," and God, that is so on the nose and lame. But yeah, that is the problem. Then they don't do anything with the premise. They just resort to like all this fast editing, all this in-your-face sort of visuals and gags and use of music, and it's just cutting around these different things where they just go OTT rather than really doing anything original or really like running with the premise. Because although you can sort of see where where they're going and how it would be strange and unusual to grow up in a world like this where everyone has a superpower and you don't, and there would be curiosity, like just to fit in, you can see how you would maybe want a power of your own. But even that stuff has been done before. But yeah, the problem is then they just go for all the silly, obvious jokes like this. Everyone just acts like a juvenile teenager in this. Like I don't really believe any of the characters. And it's that awkward mix where they feel annoying and cartoony, but it's never in an entertaining way where you can really enjoy it. And on the other hand, they never really do anything that interesting or distinct where it stands out. The characters are very annoying and bland. Like Carrie's very annoying and bland. Her boyfriend, who also lives with Jen and Carrie, he's extremely like middle of the road, nothing character. He's quite annoying. Jen, the actress, I thought was okay. She felt quite natural, but it's just a nothing sort of character. Like, one of the things I felt about her is you never really got any sense of rage. You would think there would be some rage, or you would get more of a sense of that. So the actress I thought was decent enough, like watchable enough, but you never really got any sense of a character from her. Like, there was never any like strong emotions. She just like flitted through life through the episode, and like that there just wasn't that much charisma to her or that much bite where she was like reacting to things in a strong way. And this is part of the problem with this episode, is they just don't do anything with the premise or the characters, and like the humor is just too cringe where it's not funny at all. Like, I barely laughed, like maybe half a laugh at one point, but like the stuff with the super orgasm guy, that is just so lame and dumb. Like, there is literally nothing funny about that stuff at all. It's just going for the obvious common denominator. So this shares like a studio with Killing Eve, and Killing Eve was a show which, at least in the first two seasons, was very good. You got a good sense of the characters, and it was a really exciting, edgy sort of black comic thriller. And if they did that with this, it could really work. But because it's just going for obvious like toilet style humour, then it really doesn't work. You never really get any sense of style or any like creativity with the characters. There's no real witty dialogue. The dialogue is mostly very lame and forgettable and just very random. Like, they're just like shooting at random things. So yeah, there's not much to say about this. Extraordinary is very unextraordinary. I'll just say that. So yeah, I don't feel any need to continue with this. Who knows? It could get better, but it's a very lame first episode, and I don't. and they just seem to be going for the wrong sort of tone, or going for the wrong gags. They're not doing much with the premise at all, so it seems unlikely it's going to improve, but who knows. Let me know. All episodes are up now, so if you've seen it, let me know what you think in the comments below. Does it get better after episode 1? Not much to talk about for me. So that's Extraordinary episode 1. Let me know what you think of it, guys. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.